So what you see on your screen, hopefully now, is Pages3D. That's the startup screen you'll get when you run the software. You can start by creating a new document, which would just give you a blank page to work from, where you would import various information to create your document freeform. Or you can start from a template. And you still have the freeform ability, but you get a nice start to it. A lot of times people will take our stock templates. Let's do a template here. The stock templates, there's a bunch of them included, organized into various categories. The one we chose today was what I did as a to get a little ahead of the game here, is I took this textless template and I modified it. I wanted it to be in color, and I added a few pages and everything there. So what I did was I took that template, brought that in, modified it, and I resulted in the template we're going to use today, which has a few extra pages, a little bit different format, but a color model as well. So that's the template we're going to use. So we pick our template, then we hit Next. I'll hit Browse, find the model. I have a nice speaker model here that we're going to work with. Let me make sure I get the right one. Should be that one. And when you import your 3D, you can import directly from the major CAD tools, Inventor, SolidWorks, Pro-E. We also support products like SketchUp. We have various interchange formats, starting with step files, IGES. When you get into the graphical side of things, you have the OBJ 3DS, Parasolids, all kinds of different formats that you can bring in. Today we're going to bring in a solid assembly directly, and then we're going to work from that. So we'll just hit open on that. And then when we hit finish, what this will do is it'll the 3D model into that template that we chose. And we'll be able to start directly from that. And one of the things I did with the template, here you go. Okay, so there's our speaker model coming out of SolidWorks. And as you can see here with the scroll bar, we started a number of pages, and we'll go through each of those in time here. And on the first page, you'll see that we modified that template to be more specific to my fictional ABC company. I should have typed in the address and everything, but I left that here just as an exercise. Guys, a little bit about the interface real quick. There's two modes. Edit page puts us into a mode where I can click on the page elements and I can position them. So for this one, I just click down here and I'm actually going to type in an address. Let's see. So we just select and we type in text or whatever you need to do. We could type in the rest, phone numbers and everything, but that's pretty much how you work with the software. You type into the text boxes. This is just an image that's dragged out onto the page. The 3D, I could resize that, reposition that, but I'm just going to stick with what the template gave us for this one. And then we'll go to our regular, we'll turn off the editing of the page mode. Now we'll be able to use our mouse to interactively manipulate the 3D information and set up our graphics throughout our document. So the first thing we want to do on this graphic is I need to change and make this, since this is a customer-focused printed manual, I don't want this blue engineering color on my speaker anymore. So I'm going to go to my materials ribbon, and I'm going to pick from the stock templates. There's a textured plastic, this blackish gray plastic. It looks more like the real speaker that we're going to be putting together. And I'm just going to pick that material, then I'm going to use this eyedropper to apply it to the various panels of wood. And get the last one over here. And when we're done, we just hit the done button here, and that closes out the material editing, and we can get it back into a suitable position for our first page. I'm actually going to pull up the viewpoint panel, and I'm going to use the isometric button here to get it back into something crisper. The materials, there's a number of stock materials included with the product. It's all done on this materials ribbon, so it's very organized. If I wanted to tweak the color, when I had that material selected, I could have just used this pull down here to tweak the color however I wanted, using a theme color or any of the standard colors. You can pick materials and edit them that way. So there's a lot of functionality here. You can save off your own user materials, and you can share those with other users, so everybody's working with the same material library, having a custom library that way. And then this one here shows all the materials applied incoming when the model comes in from the CAD tool. So that's really all we want to do. on the first page of our multi-page manual. On the second page here, you can see it automatically generated a parts list for us. And this part up here is where we want to set up the tools required for our activities here. So let's edit this page out to tweak it out for this exact assembly procedure. I don't think we're going to need the wire clippers. I'm going to just delete those. I don't think we need the hammer. I know we need a screwdriver. Perhaps we need the wrench there as well. But what I can do here is, this is kind of a textless one. I kind of merged it with text as well, just to point out some other things that you can do with the software. But in general, this was a textless template. So what you would end up doing is putting in different images of the tools you need here. Maybe you want to have a battery. I don't know why, to test your speaker at the end. And let's drag that out on the scene. I'm going to get rid of the outline on that. Okay, so you could just set up graphically different icons to show what tools are required. The parts list, this automatically was generated with the parts from that solid assembly. So you can see that we have a list of the parts here and a list of the quantities. One thing I want to edit in my fictional scenario here is that one of the parts that we're going to use is the glue. So I'm going to add a non-part item to this. So we'll go to our model ribbon and we'll edit the parts list. And this will bring up an Excel-looking spreadsheet. And from here we can edit the parts list however we want. This first one's going to be what we're going to do, to insert a new row. But you can insert columns based on metadata fields assigned to the parts, for example, or you can insert an arbitrary column and type in the text yourself, and that will reflect back on your document page. And you can work with Excel in and out. You can export your parts list to Excel, modify it, import it back in. So let's just insert our row. You can see it added a custom entry for me down here, and I'm just going to call this wood glue. And one quantity is fine. I'm just going to change this since it's not quite a component of the model. I'm just going to give it a ZZ number. And when we're done, we'll hit this done button. And this will go back to our document. And you can see that it added to our table the wood glue element, one quantity, and kept the call number that we overrode, we forced into for that part. Okay, so I think that's all we want to do on this page. Let's check out the next page. I guess we're into the point of just inserting some text. I'm going to do a couple pages here with some text on one page, and then we'll do a text spec graphics and give some people the ideas of how the speaker should perform in the sound spectrum. Okay, so let's just take this. Let's delete all that, and I'm going to do import a document from file. This will allow you to take, let's say somebody has saved off a Word doc that has the technical specifications for this product. We can import this from a file, and I happen to have a little doc file here ready to go. And that'll open it up, same formatting that you had put together in Word. If there's images in there, those will be inserted. If this is longer than the single text box, you can link text boxes together and span multiple pages. Same idea applies to columns. You can span between different text boxes across different columns. So, okay, so that's all we want to do on that page. We insert our text there. And what we're going to do now is insert another page with this same field. So I'm going to go to the Home ribbon, New Page. And if I scroll down, you'll see where it says Document Templates. These are the different templates that came in with the document that we chose to begin with. So the template we chose to begin with. So I'm just going to pick another one of these. We're just going to do a quick insert. And that'll insert a blank one. And I don't want to use the text box, so I'm going to cut that. And we're just going to insert a couple images on this page. So we click the image insert ribbon, go to the image, and then I just drag out a box. And we go to our set of images here. Here's a picture of one version of the speaker. Place that over here, I suppose. Come off the line. There's another kind of a schematic. You can also, these are just images in this case, but you can bring in CAD files as well. You could bring in your 2D CAD in a case like this. for setting up maybe some of the specifications or different information that would be applicable to your CAD files, 2D CAD. So we'll put one last one down here. And here's the curve for the speaker. Okay. All right, so we've inserted our page now with a little bit. This is not the best looking page here, but someone with a little more skills there could come up with a better layout. Okay, so there's a page there that has some extra information based on putting images into our packet or 2D CAD into the packet of information that's going to go out into our multi-page manual. Now things are going to get a little more interesting, a little more relevant to the 3D use. So if I go to the next page, you'll see that we have a number of views set up. This doesn't make a lot of sense. It's basically set up as a template. So you have a page with 9 different views on it, all of the same model in this case. But what we're going to do is I'm going to delete this page, and then we're going to reuse the same page as the template. So if I go to my home ribbon, then I hit delete. That'll take that page out. And then we'll go back up one. And we're going to do a new page. We're going to use that 9 by 9 layout page. But instead of just doing a quick insert, we're going to actually insert a view for each of the parts in our bill of materials. So this is going to give us a graphical version of the of all the different parts. They'll have isolated views of the parts. You've seen these kind of things in catalogs that you might pick up where it shows you the screws and everything for your home installation. So we'll just do one part per row, and when I hit finish, this will go do a little processing for me, and then it automatically inserted however many pages necessary to get an isolated view of every part in your parts list. So if I go to the last page here, you can see that it needed 2 pages and a couple on this extra page. So what I want to do here is go into my edit page mode and delete these extra 6 views here. So I'll just select them by clicking on each one and holding shift. And then below them, there's also a quantity that's automatically showing up. So I'm going to delete that for these as well. And once I've deleted those, remember we added a glue to our parts list. So we might as well add a graphical version of that too. So we'll just take an image, drag that back out to this page here. And I happen to have a glue picture there to show that that's one more piece of what you should have gotten in the kit for creating the speaker. And so if we take a quick look at what we've done here, these are the 2 pages that we inserted for our parts list. Below each one is the quantity, so there's 1 of these, 2 of those. In order to create the speaker, these are the components that we're going to have to basically pull out of our box for creating the speaker, I guess. And then the second page has these last things. There's 2 woofers and the glue that we added manually. So now that we have our parts set up and everything, we're going to be ready to set up our step-by-step instructions for assembling this speaker. And we can do that just like we did the parts template. This is the same kind of concept here. This has 2 views on here. Doesn't make a lot of sense when you're just looking at 2 same views of this speaker. So what we're going to actually do is I'm going to delete this because this is a page designed to be a template again, one of the quick, smart template technology templates. And we're going to go back and insert our step-by-step process in just a second. The first thing we're going to do before we do that, though, is I'm going to use this final assembly page. This is pretty much how this page is going to look when we're done, but I'm going to go ahead and use this as a scratch area and create an exploded view on this page because it's got a nice big view. I could do this on any page, but we need to create an exploded view, so this is as good as any. So to create the exploded view, you may have seen this in some of the other videos, so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. But you basically just go to the model ribbon, create a new exploded view, and we can use the exploded view tools to select this screw. I'm going to hold down Control, select all the screws. Speaker. If I accidentally select a part like I did the speaker, the tweeter just then, I can click it again to pull it from the set. So we pull all those, and then I'm just going to pull on this handle. And then I'll actually want the speaker, the tweeter now, so I click it, pull on the hand. Then I'm going to do the same things with the rest of these woofers. And then if I need to reorient a little bit, you can hold down Shift to use the mouse to move instead of select parts for your exploded view. Now I'm just doing these arbitrarily by pulling the handle. You could actually go over here under your Properties ribbon and type in numbers to get more exact. Like you might want these two woofers to come out the same amount just to look better in your manual. Let's see. Okay, so we got some things on the back to pull, and then we got to pull the cabinet apart, and we'll have our exploder view ready to go. Oops, I don't want that. So what I do want is screws first. And then this component. Okay, so let's do the cabinet now. Grab that one, pull there. Grab these supports inside. Those. Almost there, guys. Grab the front. So once you have your exploded view, which we now have, I can hit, and there's the exploded view. On this page, I just want to go back to my initial state, but we now have captured an exploded view. Let's go to our isometric view, get this one back into how it's going to finally come out. So we've got an exploded view that we're going to use, and we want to insert it after this page. So what we're going to use is Smart Template technology again, and instead of a parts list, we're going to automatically lay out our document page with a step-by-step process. And then after we do that, we'll go back and add some markups, and we'll be pretty much complete with this document. So we take the one designed for the steps in this template's case. We're going to insert a view for every exploded step along the way. We hit Next. We pick our exploded view. And then we're going to, let's see, reverse the steps because it's an assembly process. Select the parts being assembled, hide them. We don't need to include the view for the assembled state because we already have a bigger view of that as the last page set up. And I think that's it. So when I hit Finish, just like it took the parts list and created pages of information automatically, this one takes the exploded view and automatically generates our pages of information here. So you can see how on step one, we have these two coming together and then these coming together. And as I look down through the different pages, you can see they're automatically numbered, and everything comes together little by little. And this gives you a great place to start from. And if you look at these, you'll notice, obviously some of these, going back here to this first one, this would look better coming from the other side. So I'll show you how to adjust all of these in just a second. I just go back through these. So you insert the speaker and screw it in. Insert the top speaker, screw it in. And you can see that it's automatically numbered each of the different steps. And in the spirit of kind of keeping it as textless as possible for getting across language barriers, there's not really any text on these scenes. Although you could add that if that's where you're going with your document. So let me go back to the first one, and let's adjust these as our last final finishing off the document step here. A couple things I wanted to do is I wanted to add a markup to indicate you're going to use the glue. So maybe on the first one here, I'm going to click it, and then we'll go to our Illustrate to capture a new illustration, because that's the way that you do edit markups. So there's an edit markup there. So once we have an illustration captured, it will give us an orange box around it to indicate that this is editing this illustration. So anything we move here or deselect or edit is going to be captured and modified permanently in that illustration. So what we want to do is add an image, select a custom image, and we're just going to drag that out and then pick the glue. And I'll put a view of the glue on here to indicate that we're going to use glue on these steps. And then I'll hit done to say that I'm done editing that illustration. Let's see, going through and tweaking some others here. That one's fine. This one here probably would look a lot better from the other side, so you could actually see these pieces going in. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to go over here and use my automatic viewpoint tools here to get a good crisp orientation. The axonometric views here includes a bunch of different standards from the industry, trimetric, dimetrics, isometrics, all from various angles, but all having the nice vertical lines that define something as an axonometric view. You can also go through and enter your own offsets and tilts if you want a custom view, for example. Okay, so that one we've reoriented. We're going to reorient a few more here because we're working on the back side over here now. You always want to touch the view that you're going to work with before, because since there's two views on the page, if I just go over here and hit the button, it doesn't necessarily know which one I'm asking to apply the command to unless I grab them and orient it a touch to define that. Okay. All right, so I think for the most part we now have a complete document. The one last thing that I was going to do is on this step I was going to add one other markup. There's some stock tools and stock kind of warnings and that kind of thing that you can add. I'm just going to add our stock screwdriver to this view here. And let's see the image. Screwdriver here. There we go. All right. So we hit done there. And so we've now added a little markup to this guy, and I think that kind of completes the manual that we were trying to work on here, and we did it pretty rapidly. Probably in about 25 minutes we've created this, what is it, down here it tells us page 10 out of 14-page manual. And if we go back and review this, scroll all the way back up to the top, we'll save it real quick, save our manual. And then as part of what our next step would be to go through and actually print this. Let's just look at what we've done real quick first. So we got 14 pages. First page, it's a nice little cover page saying this is the instructions we're going to do. This is what we're going to assemble. Here's the tools we're going to need to do it. Here's the parts that we need. We've added a wood glue part that wasn't necessarily in our SolidWorks model. We've imported our technical specifications in here from a doc file, so we've included the information, from a Word document. We've inserted some various supporting images or 2D CAD files on this page. And then we got into kind of the capabilities of working with the 3D. We automatically took the parts list and generated isolated views spanning across multiple pages. We, on the fly, added an icon here to indicate the glue side of things. So we use freeform editing to do that. And then our next pages go into our step-by-step process. It automatically numbered them for us. It automatically took the exploded view and did the step-by-step processes, hiding and showing and selecting parts to give yourself a very strong head start, and laying them out on the page in a preset format. Yeah, I said the word preset there. Let me talk about that just 1 second. These came in as a preset format. That's all defined by a template. And a template can be defined by you. So you could set up your own template. If maybe you wanted 4 of these on a page, so you could get 4 steps and save some paper. You could put 4 views on a page and set it up perfectly well for that, and you just end up with half the number of pages needed to get all these graphics on them for the step-by-step process. We added markups as relevant, and then our final page is just shows us what when I get there, and our final page just says here's what you created. And to print it, you would go to the publish ribbon here. You could either do a print to a PDF or actually print it, and you would be done. You'd have your manual ready to go. And I think that pretty much concludes my stock part of the demo today. If you have any questions, please type them in down there in the questions field, and I'll address any of the questions that I can. And if not, then I will. This will be available online shortly for you to share with other people. I guess I addressed everybody's questions today. I don't see many coming through. There you go. Could you add a text procedure to one of the image steps? Okay, sure. I can show how to do that. You would probably set this up in your template beforehand, but if we want to add one on the fly, let's see. Let's go back to the very first one. Maybe let's just touch this one up a little. Maybe we wanted this one to be custom, so we could move this over a little, give ourselves some position for some text, maybe move it up. And then to add text, it's really just a matter of inserting a text box. Just insert a text box, drag it out down here, and then you just type in your text. You will need these. Something like that. So that's how you would add text to it. And if I go back and turn, you'll see turn that off, then I'll have a view with text here. Let's see, I got another question here. Can you hyperlink text parts of a list to flick between predetermined 3D views? Yes, you can. It's a little more complicated, not really complicated, but it's a little different than what we did here. But for an interactive document, this was more of a printed document. So I kind of did things in a printed way. For an interactive document, you could set up, this is an illustration, you could set up 2 illustrations, and then you could easily drag buttons over here and just say, view, go to this illustration, view, go to this illustration, and then you could easily click between the 2 buttons to show different viewpoints. We do have, there's a video on work instructions, interactive work instructions already out there right now that kind of shows one way of doing that. The way I describe is a little different, but one way of doing a clickable button that would move between different illustrations. How's the order of the, great question, how's the order of the assembly steps determined from the exploded view? Sure. We were using this as a scratch one, so let's just go back to it. Exploded view, there's the one exploded view we have, and there is the step-by-step process, or that's just the exploded view, I'm sorry. If I go to this little button here, it shows me all the steps we went through creating that. So if I click 1, you can see that it actually has an order of actually the steps going through here. If I'm out of order, if let's say we wanted to insert the tweeter before the woofers, then I would just move these 2 pieces down here. Now, the reason I say moving them from top to the bottom, since it's an assembly procedure, what happened was we automatically let the Smart Template Processing reverse our steps. So what we ended up with was a process that did step 14, which if I remember right was putting this component, was putting those two boards together. And you can see it reversed that process and then created, it hid and showed things so that it was very easily set up. So it's all in the reverse order of this if you're doing assembly, or the straight order of this if you're doing a disassembly process. When I make changes on native 3D models, all changes will be applied to any document where these models are used. True. When I make changes to the native 3D models, all changes. Okay, yes. This is kind of addressing an update question. We didn't talk about updates, but the product includes the ability to update using your latest CAD. So let's say your 3D CAD changed from Rev A to Rev B. You can update your entire document. And yes, the parts, say you updated this speaker, this woofer in there, then this woofer would be replaced with the updated component for that in the same position. The order for the steps, it would be replaced in all the graphics. I think that's the question. So all the graphics would be replaced by the updated model. These are keyed on by part name. So if you wanted to do it automatically, then it needs to have the same part name between Rev A and Rev B. But that's really what it's keyed on. If not, then you might have to make some adjustments, or if there's new parts, then you'll probably have to make some adjustments too. Okay, let's see. Can we create a bill of materials? Certainly. When we looked at the parts list pull down here, this is the master one. This one's automatically created when you bring in the 3D model. It just looks at the assembly and knows how to turn that into a parts list. You can also do a new parts list of your own. A lot of times people will do this to put subsets of parts on pages, or just to generate their own complete custom parts list. And it's really simple. You just new parts list. You pick what kind, what's your first number. Some people start with 100 style. You can do a parts only, a dented, top level only if you only want your top level sub-assemblies. It won't break them all down from there. I just do a normal one here though. And you can do it by visible objects. That's what I was saying, that you can create from subsets. So anyway, we just make a parts list and hit OK, and it would create a parts list from us there. You could also import them from Excel or other spreadsheet type formats. Let's see, another question. When working with very large models, is it possible to break it up into sub-assemblies within Pages 3D? Another great question that I didn't necessarily address in this video, but that brings us into the realm of configurations. This model doesn't really naturally break into configurations so much. Maybe the cabinet could break into its own configuration. Let's just do that. So one way to do configurations is by all the visible parts or the selected parts, or you could go into, as this question addresses, you could go into the sub-assemblies and right-click a sub-assembly. Let me just show you that one. We're not going to do that one, but I don't think this has any sub-assemblies. Oh, there's one. You could right-click a sub-assembly and you can create a configuration from that sub-assembly. And once you create a configuration, let's go create one from the cabinet like I was thinking here. So let's just select them. We'll do it by selection. I'm going to just control-click the cabinet components. And we go configuration, new configuration from selected parts. Cabinet only. And so we ended up with that. And the configurations, you'll notice the material defaulted back to the old ones. I made an independent configuration. Therefore, the materials are independent. If I wanted it to be dependent and have the material changes, then I would have done it a little differently. But the configurations have individual sets of materials. That's the way you can make a configuration for a blue, well, for this one, you could have two different speaker cabinet styles, one that's the black like we did, or one that has a wood grain on it or something. But anyway, that gets off point a little bit. So that's how you would do a configuration. And now if I actually went to the model and looked at a parts list, if I edit the parts list here, you'll notice I have, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to take this one And if I look at the parts list there, I only have the parts list, those 4 components. So if I go to show all, it doesn't bring back the others. So you're ending up working with just the subset of parts that you set up, so that like I said, the large model question. You can take a 1,000-part model, start working with 50 parts here and there, spread it out however you need across your multiple pages. Let's see. Can you create a kit of parts within the parts list? I might have addressed that with the configurations. You can. I guess another part of that question could be merging rows. If you have a number of parts that are in a kit, like you're saying, you could go into the parts list editor, select those 4 components that's in the kit, merge them, rename it to the kit. So you can do that from that perspective too. Another way to do it is through configurations. What does animate tool from the model ribbon do? Oh, this animate button. Yeah, let's just go back to, I'll just show you. Go back to our master configuration, and then let's go to our exploded view. I don't know how well the animation will work over the internet here, but if I hit animate, I can hit these buttons and we'll just hit this play one, and it'll go through our whole process, our step-by-step exploded view creation. And you know, I didn't really address that in this video again because we were focusing on printed manuals here. I would one thing to really look at is that work instructions video that's online. If you need a link, send us an email, sales@quadraspace.com, and we can send you the link to that if you can't find it yourself. Okay, I think that addresses the questions that I saw come through. I hope that I hope the webinar was helpful, and that you found some good information from this. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can get in touch with us at sales@quadraspace.com, Quadraspace with an I. You can contact me directly, Brian@quadraspace.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or provide quotes or get you in touch with resellers in your region. Thank you. Have a great day.